Hi everyone. Here's another one you can do with the kids. It's quick and easy, and they could make one of these for each of their friends. And let's get started. We're going to cut out two hearts. We're going to make two different hearts. Now I know I should have had them ready for you, but make sure you make the hearts thick enough. Don't make them too thin. You want at least almost a quarter of an inch, which I checked it on a ruler. That's pretty thick. You don't have to make it quite that thick, but close to it. I would just roll it out with a roller. I wouldn't put it through the pasta machine because you want it fairly thick. And the heart I'm using is about 2 inches across the widest part. Of course, you can use any size heart you want, but notice how thick it is. This was one of the very first videos I made. What I'm doing there is I'm popping little bubbles that were in the clay, and you want to pop them to release the air because that will not be good if you bake them with bubbles in it. Smooth it out. Yeah, I think I could have edited this out, but I know you guys like me to talk to you. I don't know. Maybe you don't. But there we have the second heart. I cut out the second heart. I didn't make you look at me doing it. So, I mean, I didn't make you watch. And this is my old garlic press. As you can see, it broke, and I put a piece of wire through it, and that wire has probably been in there for 20 years. I've had this thing forever. Came from my when my mom and her sister went to Germany to visit their brother, and he was a baker. I don't think bakers use garlic presses, but anyway, he got me a whole bunch of garlic presses, and this one is my absolute favorite. And I think I've told you all that before. So when you squeeze the clay through the garlic press, don't squeeze out too much, and then attach it to the heart, all around the heart. And I would press it in a little bit with the needle tool. That kind of helps it to stick to the heart. Oh, see, I said bonded. I couldn't think of the word. So, and now I should have put the hook in before I went any further. But like I said, this was one of my very first videos, and that's before I realized I should do the hook early on and not wait till the end. So here we're making our candy cane rope, and we're actually going to make candy canes. And if you're new, all we do is roll out a white rope, roll out a red rope, and you see how the red is staining the paper that I'm working on? Now, it's also staining your hands, so you really should wash your hands after using red, which I don't think I did. And now, if you don't have a garlic press, this is a different way of putting the wreath around, and you're just going to roll out a long rope, really long rope. And then you're going to fold it over. I don't think that's quite long enough, but we'll see. And then you're going to twist it like you would twist the candy cane when we make the candy cane. but don't flatten it. Don't make it too tight. I really should start at the bottom, putting it on, because that way the seam will end up at the top where we will put the bow. See, now I should have done it the other way, but this is fine too, as long as that seam ends up at the top. So I had a bit of an interruption, so I got to talk over this little section here, which hopefully will work. I don't know if it will, but I'll find out in just a second or two. But I forgot to warn people that I was going to be, well, people, I should say my middle brother who lives here, I forgot to warn him that I was going to be doing narration. So let's see if that works. Well, I guess it worked. It's a little garbled where I talked over him interrupting me, but let's continue. Let's make that candy cane rope. And we will break it up into candy canes. And I think at this point I may have washed my hands. I don't know. I hope so. And now we're going to break it up and make it into candy canes. And each heart wreath will have 2 candy canes. And try to make them all the same size. Because you know most candy canes are the same size. I've been making this ornament, I would say, since the early 80s. And there were about 2 years where this was extremely popular. And you know, ornaments will change in the way they are popular. One year, everybody will be buying them. The next year, no one will buy them. It's very strange. Or you could be in one state and ornaments sell like crazy, and the same ornament will just sit and do nothing in another state. So that's the way things go in the world of craft shows. You never know what's going to sell. So I'm narrating today, and it is May 3rd, 2020, and it is hot, and I just don't want to turn the air conditioner on yet. It's very, very hot. Not hot, hot, but it's warm. I think I could have put the candy canes on the right heart, just spaced it a little better than I did. Now we're going to make the bow. When I first started making these, I was not um, personalizing yet. So I would write Merry Christmas and the year in the middle of the heart. And then when I started personalizing, I would put the name and the year in the white part of the heart. And I have to admit, life was much easier when I did not personalize with names, because that's just another extra bit of work you have to do at the shows. Before I did the personalizing, I just brought my ornaments in, put them out on the display, and just got my money, wrapped them up, and it was good. And then when you start personalizing, you can charge more, you might make more, but it's also quite a bit more work because someone has to sit there and personalize. And that someone was always me. Except for when my youngest brother was pretty good at personalizing. He used to do shows when I had 2 shows in a weekend. He would do shows for me, and he was pretty good at personalizing. Of course, he thought he was better than me. I think we were about the same. I'm just adding a little extra green there. It seemed like it needed it. Now, one of the reasons that you have to make these fairly thick is when you have flat ornaments like this, you don't want to make them too thin because you have to put that hook in there. And you have to have enough clay there, enough thickness of clay so that the hook can go in. Oh, and I'm making you watch me put all those little berries on. Like I said, this was one of my first videos, and I guess I didn't know the magic of editing too much back then. I was still learning. Well, I'm still learning, but this one must be 3 years ago at least, maybe more. And more little things. I'm just adding my little holly leaves, which I have to put those on every single ornament. And those are pretty tiny. But I think at this point, you've made so many of those, because I always have them on there, that you know how to do it. And if you're doing this with kids, you might want to help them with that part. It might be a little too tiny for them to make. And now if the kids are making these for friends, they can put their friend's name on the front and then put their name on the back and the year, or write something like best friends forever, and or whatever the kids nowadays write. I don't know. And for those of you, someone asked me a question if they should, in our Facebook group, she asked if she should sell only at craft shows or online. And I told her to do both. And I think I'll give you that advice too. And if she's listening, this was a good question you asked. Right now, obviously, you can't do a craft show. So do both. Sell online. I mean, eBay is selling, Etsy is selling, Amazon is selling, lots of online places are selling. And if you sell online, I don't think I would sell them on eBay. I think I would go sell them on Etsy. I have an Etsy shop. I don't do much there. I just have some of my ebooks on there. But I would sell on Etsy because they charge 20 cents for 4 months for a listing. At least last time I looked, they did. And that's not a bad deal. And you can do your descriptions and your pictures. And I think that would be a good way to go if you're just getting started selling online. Give it a try. The trick is to do really good descriptions and keywords. But I think you would do well on there. And now another thing I want to say here is I should have told you this before. I you should have I should have put the hooks in before I did the bows. Now I'm going to do, of course, my little holly leaves. Candy canes just look bare to me without them. And there we go. And see, this is what I would do with the kids. Use the toothpick. Put the little red berries in, and I think we're good to go. We just have to put the hooks in. Now, if you do these on a smaller scale, you can make them into pins or brooches. And if you do make them into pins, do not use a glue gun to pin on your pin back. Use crazy glue or super glue, but just a little. You don't have to put a lot on because the glue gun, it won't hold. It'll hold for a while, but say you wear it and it gets really hot, and you don't want it to fall off, especially if you're selling them. And there they are. Look, I didn't proofread. You should see put in the paperclip. And there's a larger one I've done, and there they are. And yeah, 3 years ago. And we are good to go. I hope you like that. Remember to bake them according to the instructions on your package. See you next time.